the values of Christianity. Now, apart from the religious side, the political method, the political structure of the North is such that because of the feudalism that they are more or less identified with, you have their emirs who are almost like gods, whose word is law, whose authority is final. Now we come to the West that have obas, that have monarchical system, who are more or less subservient to their obas, and then you know the other implications of having monarchs. And now we come to the East, where we have republicanism, where everybody is equal to the other. As we are talking about republicanism, we are talking about democracy in the East, because from time immemorial, the eastern part, the Biafran part, had always practiced democracy, representative governance. And so it has more or less been like a collegiate structure, whereby it is not in the hands of one person to take any final decision on any matter. It has more or less been collegiate, or more or less been representative. So these are areas that made the major ethnic groups that we are forced to be in one country incompatible. From that time, there had been various skirmishes regarding the staying together of these unfriendly partners in the union called Nigeria. Starting from 1945, when the Northerners started killing Biafrans, Biafrans had always expressed their desire to leave the union in order not to be existing in the same environment with Islamists who don't take any person's life to worth anything, to be of any value. Don't forget that they are promised that when they kill non-Muslims, that they are doing their God, their Allah, good service, and that He will reward them with 70 virgins in eternity. And that is what makes them to always see the killing of non-Muslims as a service to their God, which, if one dies for, is a noble death. So with this, you find out that the death of all those that are not Muslims are of no meaning to them. And that is why they have always been very desirous, been very enthusiastic, been very eager to kill the Biafrans as a service to their God. Now, with this, you find out that since there is no agreement or no meeting point of the cultures and value system, it is like, in fact, when Lugard amalgamated the North and the South, he said that they were like oil and water, which can never mix. But they left it like that because they want to use the North, which they find very gullible, which they find very malleable, which they find very easy to handle, to be in charge, so that they will use them as a front to exploit the South, which is the economic engine room of the amalgamated nation. So from this, you find out that all these causes and issues and elements constitute the reason why the Biafrans find it uncomfortable to stay in the country Nigeria. And now, it continued in this cat and dog game until the 1966, when the British cunningly led some people that were army officers into carrying out a coup with the promise or with the understanding that they were trying to cleanse the system of corruption. But it happened to be that it was the British that mischievously planned and they found the people that executed the coup, and they went around to begin the propaganda that it was an Igbo coup, irrespective of the fact that the number of Igbos involved were less than the number of other ethnic groups. And so, because the British had the machinery of the BBC, the media, it led the world into believing, and other Nigerians into believing, that it was an Igbo coup which they carried out in order to take over Nigeria. With this, they inflamed and they fired up the hatred for the Igbos, for the Biafrans, by other people. Anyway, the long and short of it was that there was a civil war. There was the genocide, which many people call civil war, because it was a genocide that was instigated and executed by the British using the Nigerian establishment and structures. So it appeared as though it was a civil war between Nigeria and Biafra, but it was in fact a genocide by the British in order to ensure that the Igbos that they had always seen as a problem were totally exterminated, so that they will no longer constitute a threat to them in their process of exploiting the African continent in general and the Biafran land in particular. So when the physical human genocide was over, they came back. When it was suspended by 1970, they now followed it up with economic genocide. I'm sure you must have heard about the 20 pounds saga, 20 pounds, ceiling that the Biafrans were subjected to at the end of the genocide. They were calling it civil war. When I'm talking about the genocide, I'm talking about what they refer to as the Nigerian Biafran War. So when I say genocide, I mean that period between 1967 and 1970, when the British used Nigeria to carry out genocide against the Biafrans. Now, when I say the end of that genocide, or when I say the suspension of that genocide, I'm talking about the time they're saying that the war ended. Because the war did not end as a matter of fact. It was just suspended. The human genocide was suspended at that time. But they unleashed other forms of wars. And those wars include economic genocide. One of the signs, one of the symbolisms, one of the major demonstrations of that economic genocide was that by the end of the human genocide, all the people that had money, some millions of pounds, some hundreds of thousands of pounds, some various amounts of money in the bank, they were placed at a ceiling of 20 pounds each for any person that could prove that he had any money at all in the bank. A ceiling of 20 pounds. Those that had millions of pounds in the bank, those that had hundreds of thousands, those that had thousands, those that had whatever amount any person had in the bank. If he could prove, because some people could not prove they had any money, having lost everything during the war, having died themselves. So some did not even come to show themselves off. And now those that came, some could not prove, because sometimes the war consumed all they had. And the most they could do was to survive with their heads. So any person that could not prove that he had any money was excluded from this bracket. But those that could prove they had any money were given 20 pounds each. So that tells you that there was no way the war ended. They only suspended the physical killings, but continued the war in the economic side. And that's why I call it economic genocide. Now, another demonstration of the economic genocide is that all the properties of the Biafrans that they left and they fled when they were being slaughtered in all parts of Nigeria, when they came back, those that survived, who could come for their properties, we are told that their properties had been declared as abandoned. So the little sustenance they could have gotten, the little assistance they could have gotten from the properties that they left, that they labored for, they were denied, they were deprived, they were chased away from them, because the properties had been declared abandoned. That is what they call abandoned property. Now, after all these deprivations and denials, they came to what they called indigenization decree. By indigenization decree, they meant the sale of all the multinational companies.
Say hello.
Do quick now.
Say hello to the camera, Ken. Eh?
Is it?
Open it well now. Open the other one well.
Pum 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 pum.
Just stop that thing.
But the phone is still videoing. Let me see.